This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Welcome to Chapter 1 of our series, Design Thinking for Real-World Innovation. In this episode titled Fundamentals of Design Thinking, we'll unpack what design thinking really means and explore its overarching philosophy. So, whether you're a seasoned innovator or just curious about this approach, let's dive in. A global study found that companies that take design seriously grow revenue almost twice as fast as their peers. Yet most teams still start with budgets and deadlines, not people. So here's the puzzle. How do you design anything meaningful without beginning from the spreadsheet? In this episode, we'll zoom in on the engine behind that growth, design thinking. Not as a buzzword, but as a practical way to tackle messy, real-world problems when the right answer isn't obvious. Instead of jumping straight to solutions, design thinking forces you to slow down just enough to ask better questions. Who exactly is struggling? Where do they get stuck? What have we been assuming without proof? You'll notice it feels less like filling out a project plan and more like walking through a city you thought you knew, then suddenly spotting hidden side streets, rooftop paths, and shortcuts you'd never seen. Those alternate routes are what this method is hunting for. We'll break down how the 5 phases work together in loops, not lines, and why the most effective teams treat being wrong early as a strategic advantage rather than a failure. Design thinking shows its real value once you put it under pressure. Tight timelines, clashing stakeholders, incomplete data. That's where its human focus quietly becomes a strategic tool. McKinsey's research on design-led companies, IBM's ROI studies, and Stanford's startup outcomes all point in the same direction. When you treat user insight as seriously as code quality or financial modeling, you reduce waste and uncover options you didn't know you had. Instead of a nice-to-have, it becomes a way to de-risk bold moves and make creativity feel less like a gamble and more like a disciplined bet. Think of this section as popping the hood on how design thinking behaves when you actually try to use it on a messy, non-academic problem. Start with where most projects quietly go off the rails: untested assumptions. Teams argue about features, roadmaps, or campaigns, but underneath those debates sit hidden guesses like, our customers care most about price, or nobody will use this on mobile. Design thinking's first move is to drag those guesses into the light, label them as hypotheses, and treat them as things to be challenged rather than defended. That's why the phases are deliberately cyclical. You might be sketching a rough interface and suddenly realize you don't truly understand when or where someone would use it. Instead of forcing the prototype forward, you loop back. Talk to another person, observe a real context, reframe the problem, then adjust the sketch. Progress isn't a straight arrow, it's a tightening spiral around what actually matters. Crucially, this isn't about indulging every user request. Mature teams balance 3 forces at once: what people value, what the organization can support, and what technology can realistically deliver. When IBM reports triple-digit ROI from its approach, it's not because they blindly followed user wishes. It's because they used those wishes to prioritize which feasible, viable bets were worth placing. You can see this in how Stanford's D-School projects often begin as scrappy class assignments. Students test crude versions with real communities, discard half-baked ideas fast, and keep only what survives contact with reality. Some of those survivors, like Embrace's infant warmer, evolve into ventures precisely because the early loops exposed constraints: cost, power supply, training, that glossy concepts tend to ignore. This looping rhythm also affects team culture. Debates shift from whose idea wins to what evidence do we have? A napkin sketch, a quick role play, or a clickable mock-up becomes a way to learn, not to impress. Over time, that reduces the cost of being wrong and increases the number of times you're willing to risk it. where most breakthroughs quietly come from. Your challenge this week: pick one small, recurring annoyance in your day. Maybe how you schedule meetings, share files, or prep for a workout. For 3 days, just observe yourself and anyone else involved. Note where friction actually happens, without fixing anything. On day 4, write a one-sentence problem statement that surprises you a little. I waste more time finding the right link than writing the document. On days 5 and 6, generate at least 10 ways to tackle that one sentence, from absurd to practical. On day 7, build the scrappiest possible version of one idea: a new calendar template, a renamed set of folders, a sticky note system, and live with it for 24 hours. Your only goal: notice what you learn, not whether it works. Think of a team redesigning a hospital waiting area. Instead of starting with furniture catalogs, they shadow patients from the parking lot to the exam room, noticing small emotional spikes: confusion at a kiosk, tension near billing, relief in a quiet corner. One insight: people cluster around a single hallway window just to see daylight. That tiny detail can spark options: movable chairs along windows, clearer sight lines, or live wait time displays that reduce anxiety. Or picture a city planner walking a neighborhood at dusk rather than reviewing daytime photos. They might see parents hesitating at an unlit shortcut, kids avoiding a noisy intersection, elders stopping where there's a bench and a tree. Each observation becomes a seed for experiments: temporary lighting, painted crosswalks, pop-up seating, tested with residents before policies harden. Across fields, the pattern is the same. Start with lived moments, not abstract categories, and let those moments quietly redirect what you build. As AI and automation quietly absorb routine tasks, design thinking becomes less about nice-to-have creativity and more about career insurance. Expect teams to co-create with algorithms, bots surfacing edge cases, humans probing emotions and ethics. Classrooms may start to feel like mini design labs, where kids redesign lunch lines or bus routes. In that world, your real advantage isn't knowing the process. It's being the person who can convene others and steer messy experiments with confidence. Treat this mindset as a portable lens. You can point it at a broken sign-up flow, a clumsy team ritual, or even how your neighborhood shares public space. Start small, but keep widening the scope, like following a trail of street art through a city, letting each curious detour reveal a new place where your next experiment belongs. Before next week, ask yourself, where in my current work, a project, a process, or a customer touchpoint, can I actually talk to 3 real users this week and ask them about a recent frustration, instead of assuming I already know their needs? If I sketched 3 radically different ways to solve that specific problem in 20 minutes, without worrying if they're good, what would those rough ideas look like, and which one surprises me the most? What is one tiny, low-risk prototype I can build in under an hour? A mock screen, a paper storyboard, a quick role play, and who could I show it to tomorrow to get honest feedback before I invest more time? This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. To keep learning with structured courses and more insights, go to owlup.co. Until tomorrow!